So, shall we kick on with this week's massive new film? Massive, massive, massive. If you don't go see this, I will resent you, and it's Inside Out.
Have you just spoiled your opinion on the film just straight away?
No. Well, my opinion doesn't matter, so...
Does it now?
No.
Alright,
I'm on this side of the desk, and all my job is to stop you two from arguing with each other. So, Ryan.
Right, well, so... If you've been under a rock for a few weeks, or probably months now, you'll have seen everything about Inside Out. It's doing broadband adverts. It's on pretty much every... There's teasers for it before pretty much every film, young or old.
The new Minions? Are we going to have Inside Out hate in a few weeks?
Oh, I know, but they're not as annoying.
Absolutely
not at all. I mean, it's very easy to get annoyed of a bunch of yellow, squidgy, yellow things that don't speak any language at all, and just are there purely just to be annoying little yellow things, but not just fully fleshed out characters. But anyway, so Inside Out, it's a strange one, because I mean we were all. I mean, we should tell the story. We should really set the scene. So was it June or May? June, yeah, like late June, and there's this thing basically in the Metro Centre where we live. There's this thing called Audience Screen Unseen, and they do it in the country, around all the country as well, at every audience cinema. And basically what they do is they put lots of teasers out for a film during the month. Like clues. So like it might be something to do about a certain director's film, or something involving like an actor in a film. And what that does basically is lead people towards guessing what a film they might see, because the gimmick of Audience Screen Unseen is that on that day they will show you a film which is not to be released yet for another month or maybe even more. So basically you get an advance preview, but extremely in advance. So it's risky.
We've seen some absolute stunners, haven't we?
It's not been... I mean, obviously, we've talked about this on our podcast about how if you should maybe have a bit of risk-reward, but it's not really like that, because obviously so far we've had pretty much every... I mean, even the ones we haven't seen, they've had Nightcrawler so far, obviously great film, Whiplash, Ex Machina, Selma, and then...
It Follows.
And then It Follows as well, and now obviously this time it was Inside Out. Now, I will get to this afterwards, but people were expecting a lot more. Like they were expecting Southpaw, the new Jake Gyllenhaal film,
which is also out today. But we haven't seen it yet.
They're expecting that, or some people were expecting Terminator Genesis. The clues this month seem to lead completely towards Magic Mike XXL, which worried us quite a lot.
But also, it's normally films that are like critically acclaimed, and I don't think Magic Mike is. Well, this seems obvious looking.
A lot of the clues, like basically, what the clues you can fill in the blanks. So a lot of them, and people do on Twitter. That's what they do. That's the fun of it, really. They just fill in the blanks, and a lot did point towards Magic Mike, and we were very worried.
We're going to walk out.
We're gonna walk out of there as soon as it came up. But
which makes us what we hate. It should be said.
It does, but I mean.
But I didn't want to sit through.
Yeah, that. I didn't want to do that myself. But that's the risk. You pay £5, you get your ticket with Audience Screen Unseen, and it always says it's 15 rated film, so it gives nothing away. So it could be something like that. And was It Follows a 15?
Yes.
Yeah. So it didn't give much away. So you know, it is just. It's what it says basically. You pay your money and you get what it is. So I mean. And we were glad it was Inside Out. So obviously people did walk out, as people walked out when we saw Whiplash and as we saw Selma.
Which is unbelievable.
But I'll get to that because
you will get to that, won't you? I can't get my head around that either. Yeah.
Can you though? I mean, right. So obviously,
Inside Out.
Yeah. So we got Inside Out, and obviously we're very happy to see that. So basically, Inside Out is the new film by director Pete Docter, who's obviously. I mean, he's the man who did Up. He directed Up and directed Monsters Inc. And he's also the original story writer for Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and a few other classics as well. And obviously the studio is Pixar, who was responsible for 90% of most people's childhood memories. And I mean, they have a much better hit rate, I would say, than Disney. I would say when it comes to animated films.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Disney Pixar, but like as a studio themselves, Pixar definitely have the biggest hit rate in terms of animated films outside of, say, Miyazaki or sort of other Eastern cinema, like animated. But I mean, obviously, that's what they do so well, is that they take relatively simple ideas, you know, the monsters under your bed in Monsters Inc. and the fear of growing old alone and Up and stuff like that. They take those relatively simple ideas and fears and make them into something, you know, pretty magical for all ages.
The common theme through all of Pixar stuff is feelings. So we've had monsters that have got feelings, bugs that have got feelings, toys that have got feelings. This one is feelings that have got feelings. Yeah.
So what you're seeing is there's too many feels.
I'd say that there's just enough. All the feels.
Yeah, it's feelings. So he's had this in gestation for quite a while now. I mean, it's been probably a bit of a passion project for him since his last one. I mean, I know it probably was his last film he was involved with them direct. I mean, obviously that was his last directed Pixar film.
Yeah.
So he's had. I mean, obviously he's probably written stuff before that during that time, and also had time to direct things. So it's good to see him, on this thing, because for a film that has had this long gestation period of development, it is good to see that it's a payoff. Now, obviously, we saw it on the screen unseen, and we roundly loved it. It was, it's a great film. That's the biggest thing to come out of this. So basically, the big thing about this is, I mean, it's not a gimmick, but like the main sell of this film is that it's set in the mind of a young girl called Riley Anderson, played by newcomer Kaitlyn Diaz, where 5 personified emotions. It was once a lot more. There was going to be 27 different emotions. I read that, including stuff like surprise and pride and trust. But obviously that would have become clustered. But he's managed to sort of slim that down into the 5 big emotions of the film, where joy, played by Amy Poehler, who you might recognise from Parks and Rec. What will listeners recognise her from if they haven't seen
Blades of Glory?
Blades of Glory, maybe.
Saturday Night Live.
They came together. They had a UK release, didn't it?
That wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Arrested Development.
Mm-hmm.
She's in all sorts of bits and pieces.
Loads of things.
Anger, played by Lewis Black, who I didn't recognise.
Really good American stand-up.
Yeah, I've really watched much of his stuff. Disgust, played by Mindy, Kaling, who you might recognise from the Mindy Project. I don't really like that, and The Office as well. Fear, played by Bill Hader, obviously massive comedy star in America and pretty big here as well. And Sadness, played by Phyllis Smith, who you will recognise off The Office US. So they're just the main 5. I'm glad they have just sort of summed them down to those 5 emotions instead of making them, 27. That would have been far too. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, the main gimmick of the film is that they all sit around a control room trying to press buttons, and it's hectic enough trying to get control of the girl's mind and how to guide her through life as it is. I don't know how it would be like with 27. It'd just be like it'd be basically just trying to stamp over everybody. It would be horrendous. So basically they try to lead her through life as she moves in with her parents from, I mean, was it sort of like Alabama or somewhere?
It's like some kind of cold...
some cold area where she's a hockey star. She's 11-year-old, and they move to a new city with their parents, Diane and Kyle McLachlan, who... what's he like? Obviously the star of Twin Peaks, and now he's I haven't even noticed what he's done for the past like 20 years, 15 years.
Showgirls.
Exactly, Showgirls. But it's just, I mean, oh god. But it's a great little story how this came about. Docter first started developing it in 2009 when he was noticing the changes in his daughter's personality as she grew older, and the producers of the film sort of consulted with numerous psychologists, including one from the University of California, who were sort of trying to help realise how that emphasising the neurological findings of human emotions can be mirrored in the relationship that people have with them and sort of go along in life. And that was a really good thing, because obviously if you have had a young kid and you see them grow from that sort of 8 to 9-year-old phase into sort of early teens, it is a troubling time. Especially, I mean, they do pick that up at the end, like near the end of the film. It's not a spoiler to say that they do hint like, I think it's going to be a lot easier when she hits her teenage years. So, obviously they're just playing that for a sequel. But yeah, I mean, it's really... I mean, that's the thing, the biggest thing about this film. It's that Pixar do have that magic about them, really. I mean, they are sort of irrepressible in the fact that they are incredibly creative in everything they do, from the animation style they have to the writing style they have to the deftness and lightness of touch they have to writing the script and the images they show. Which the biggest thing for me is that the fact that, I mean, what there's a special word they call the people who work with Pixar, isn't it? It's like imaginarium or something. Like, it's like
sounds about
something.
Right.
It's a creative sounding word. Somebody will have to tweet us about that. And I know there's a specific word for it where it's like they're a specialist in what they do. But yeah, I mean, it's just I think animation style in general is getting really, really, really sophisticated now. Yeah. I'd say. I mean, especially some of the ones are fantastic. I mean,
Pixar have a new trailer out this week for a film called The Good Dinosaur, and aside from the big green squidgy dinosaur characters, it looks photoreal, and I think that's what they're going for. It's just, I couldn't believe it. It's like looking through a window. But yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I remember a film back that Disney did called Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which wasn't a very good film, but the animation was unbelievable.
What about, was it Treasure Island? I think that's going to be one of the most expensive.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it is, yeah. It was a big flop.
Yeah, big flop.
But it looked
was it
really
Treasure
good.
Island? What
Treasure Island, yeah.
It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He does the voice
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah. I remember watching it as a kid in the cinema. It was visually stunning.
I remember seeing it as a kid, yeah. I think I might have fallen asleep. My dad will have to tell us on that one, because I remember seeing that, yeah.
Do you?
I do actually, yeah.
I mean, there's not... I mean, what other animation flops is there really? I mean...
Disney, there's plenty that Disney have swept under the rug. There's one called Mars Needs Moms, which didn't even get anywhere near here, because it made such little money. Yeah.
Did it though? I mean,
but Jesus. I think Inside Out's gonna sweep the. I mean, it's been out in America for a month, and it's just hitting here today. Mm-hmm. It's gonna sweep. It's gonna sweep up because it's not just a kids' film.
No, it's not a kids' film. I mean, that's obviously the biggest other thing about Inside Out is the fact that it is just so light in the way that it just sort of deals with big problems. Obviously, if you have had a big event in your life, if you have had something, incredibly... I mean, it is basically just how emotions... I mean, it has... That's probably the biggest sort of funniest thing about the whole film is that the fact that it does deal with the way that you sort of see emotions in yourself as well. I mean, obviously they do play that in quite a funny sequence where it sort of jumps from the mind of Riley to other people in the house, like the dad and the mom, and that's in the trailer, you see that. Mm-hmm. It's really funny, just different things, and then there's a bit at the end where they show lots of other ones, and it's really funny about that, and just seeing that the fact that they have just got all these emotions in their head wrestling for control, and that's very much what it is in real life, because if you have sort of had an emotional sort of experience, or you have experienced something like that in the past, then you will relate to that, because they do, emotions do fight within you sometimes. And that's probably the biggest. I don't want to spoil anything about the message. I mean, obviously, it is a very laid on message that is, it's open for everybody to interpret. And I think that adults will appreciate that more. I know we certainly did a lot more than some kids will, because it is deep in that way, that it is deafness in its touch, and it does have sort of a lot sort of deeper empathy wrapped within it, instead of being sort of plastered on or just made hackneyed, really, because you really can see just. I mean, obviously the voice cast is absolutely phenomenal. You've got these incredibly talented comic actors who just completely know their place. They're all comfortable working with each other, and they all bring personalities to all these people so well, interacting with each other, and that's why it is such a blessed thing that they have been sort of mull it down to just those emotions, and particularly are not just 27, which would have been, I just can't imagine just how bad that would have been.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is just, that's the biggest thing before I get under what I was going to say about the people walking out, because Inside Out really, it's one of those rare films that you can go to the cinema with your whole family and just enjoy it for more than just the spectacle or the explosions or the cool moment,
everyone will get
or the badass moments. Yeah. I mean, as much as I want to defend Jurassic World, what you're going to take out of it is that it is, it's dinosaurs and a bit of nostalgia. Terminator Genesis this year, if you take anything out of that at all, it is just explosions and the joy of seeing Arnie back. But this film is just one that you'll take out of this exactly what you want from that, and that is that adults will feel sort of renewed in their optimistic spirit, and feel a lot better for their whole family, really. Even if you don't have a family, you will come out of this feeling utterly optimistic. And even kids will they'll love the colours, they'll love the vibrancy. There is some toilet humour in there, but there's some just as Pixar always does, there's very, very smart jokes, but that just brings me back to this, because there'll always be the critical darlings of films. There'll always be the guns-out blockbusters, the often ignored films that slip by most viewers, and the films that are roundly panned. Variety is the life force of the film industry, but the one thing I just cannot stand at all is when a person writes off a film based off one or two preconceived notions about the film. Because, really, I mean, shameless plug, obviously, to that audience, because it is a great thing, Audience Screen Unseen. If you haven't had a look, go and have a look, because I like sort of gimmicks. I want to see more of them, It is quite fun, that because, the fact that you don't see anything apart from those clues, it's risk or reward, and it could be terrible. But, I mean, after we left the cinema feeling completely vindicated, we all checked Twitter straight away, and there was a really, really quite spectacular chorus of anger, wasn't there, compared to usual? I mean, we had a look after every film so far for Audience Screen Unseen, but this one, there was tons and tons of people just going, one guy especially was saying he was going to start trouble. Remember that? Like, he's going to, imagine, come on.
The guy in question said, why did I spend 50 quid on food? It's like, you don't spend 50 quid on food.
Like,
that's a lot of food. I know cinema food's expensive, but 50 quid.
Like, thankfully, I mean, there were few and far between angry tweets compared to most people who, but the fact that people had rocked up at Monday night at 8:30 expecting a 15 film, which is a fair point given what had been before, We've had like that intense sort of be your best film with Whiplash, that intense racial drama with Selma, really terrifying horror with it, and then he said Inside Out there, it follows. But I mean, it's fair enough, but the fact that they have the sheer arrogance to do that, people demanding refunds and threatening that they'd start trouble over the fact that they had gambled over the film that they were going to see, and for that time the gamble failed.
I understand that people, particularly couples who've got young children, were not happy because they'll have to see it again with their kids.
Yeah.
They'll have to pay for it again.
I can understand.
And I can understand the people who've had they've booked a babysitter so they can go out and watch something grown up. But also, you should grow up, because I think this is just heart-meltingly beautiful.
Like,
oh, you wanted to watch Jake Gyllenhaal punch people because that's so gritty and edgy. This is
no,
lovely.
no.
This is just lovely and nice.
You know,
and
well, that's the thing, because
I haven't smiled as much since.
Yeah, I mean, like that was, I mean, literally the day before. I mean, if you watched like a lot of films, then go and see. There's a film called The Tribe that we saw the day before. It is the polar opposite of Inside Out in terms of tone and pretty much everything, and it's definitely not an animation. Just have a look. You'll understand when.
If you're having a bad day, do not watch The
we
Tribe.
saw that the day before we saw Inside Out, and obviously.
Have a good comedy ready after you watch The Tribe.
We watched The Tribe, and we just sat on the bus on the way back, and we're just like, well, this is depressing.
Stunned.
And then we just left on Inside Out, start of a Monday, start of a new week. Monday is, stereotypically the boring day, start of the week. But we just left completely happy, because I remember that one tweet as well, that guy who said he wanted edgy, cutting-edge films, and that guy, that reviewer for Film Drunk, who said that he would have liked the film more if the girl had grown up and turned out to be the Virginia Tech killer.
To be fair, I would have. It would be really interesting to see.
It would be
this
like
in a serial killer's head.
Mind,
it would be interesting. I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the things I thought.
But that's just the other charming thing about animation: the fact that animated films just bring worlds and visions to life that just cannot be done in the physical world. I mean, we've seen from Akira to everything since, everything in between. I mean, we grew up with the likes of Toy Story, Shrek, Spirited Away, and everything like that, just like most kids did. I know, obviously, Joe, we've said this before, but Joe with the Chucky doll.
I'm gonna get to Joe.
But then they left profound impressions, and that's what Inside Out does so wonderfully. It takes an inspired concept and it runs with it completely. It's utterly uncynical. It's not sugarcoated at all, because the message of Inside Out, the fact that it has those emotions and the fight that you go through when you go through emotional stress, you have all of these emotions in play. It doesn't sugarcoat that fact. It does leave it to the fact that, yes, this is what will happen when you go through emotional stress, and this is exactly what you'll deal with. I mean, we're not going to give any spoilers here, but the fact that you do feel many emotions fighting for control, and you have to embrace them no matter how bad they feel, but you leave this film feeling completely vindicated, because it is just utterly optimistic, despite the fact that it is brash with its message, but despite the fact that it is so uncynical, it does mean that you can leave just feeling completely with your head up. And I mean, I know there were some people as well on Twitter, we should definitely give a mention to them, who just said that they felt they were expecting something bad, because they didn't usually like kids films, but they loved this because it resonated with them. And that's just the thing about it, because sad is often happy for the deeper people, and that's why there's me going, a bit deeper there. Yeah. And that's why this film and others like it within the animated side of film are so important, not for me, but for those much younger than us as well, because they teach or reinforce important lessons to kids, and indeed adults of all ages as well. I mean, you can imagine this is a film that's going to reduce a lot of people to tears from 8 to 80. And I mean, obviously, from the voice cast to the pitch perfect score from Michael Giacchino, the man who likes to litter his film scores with puns, as we've seen with everything that he's ever done. It hits every note, and that's why it's a work of art. Yeah, and it's just the fact that the childish, ironic there, but behaviour of those who blasted Orion for daring to screen Inside Out instead of something edgier is just not right, because Pixar are at the top of their game. They're more inventive than ever, and there's nobody else putting out as perfect a family experience as you'll get there. And the fact that they walked out and demanded a refund as soon as they saw the U title card pop up, you sit back, you let your preconceived notions, and you just watch go and just watch.
People won't be walking out of this because they're paying to see it, obviously. But you might not have to pay to see it, because there is a competition that we are running today. Thanks to Empire Cinemas in Sunderland, we are giving away 2 tickets. So the question is simple. All you have to do is tweet at Spark Sunderland with the hashtag SparkFilmShow. The question is this: what was the first Pixar film to be released? Is it A Bug's Life, Toy Story, or Monsters Inc? At Spark Sunderland, hashtag Spark Film Show, and you could win 2 tickets to see Inside Out this weekend. How good is that? We're giving the gift of film.
Yeah, but Inside Out it's bottled, purified optimism. That's the best way I can put it. A life-affirming 94 minutes that even if you don't like the film, you will guaranteed be leaving the cinema feeling overwhelmed by its irresistible optimistic spirit.
With also a very, very, very funny film reference that had me laughing.
There's quite a lot of good
there's very good ones.
There's a Vertigo poster on the wall somewhere. And,
brilliant.
Good stuff.
Ryan has alluded to the fact that Joe, your childhood film taste was a bit different.
Oh yeah. No, I still watch kids' films, but I did watch a lot of horrors, when I shouldn't have. But oh well.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have.
So, so what do you think of this?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was very clever with the way obviously it played with the emotions and certain other things. You know, the back ones when they started. Well, I can't spoil that. Can I?
No spoilers.
Okay, I will not say anything. I'll just stick to the emotions. But yes, overall, I thought it was very, very clever. You know,
Please talk about Rampart.
She was talking about. It didn't, it didn't overtly pander to anything. It was very mature. I think for adults and children. I think it's one of those films as well. I think as you. Like, if you watch that as a kid, as you get older, you'll start to realise more as you start to go into, from adolescence into adulthood.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't watch many Pixar animated films, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
That's the biggest thing we can take from it, really, the fact that it is just... I'm glad I said that as well, the fact that it is a bigger family experience than you will get. I would recommend this over all the summer films that have been out so far, as much as I do love Jurassic World. But I should have
changed the record.
It is better than every summer film we've had so far, and it's a lot more thoughtful and definitely more diverse than any film we've seen this year as well. Like, well, in the summer anyway, in summer blockbuster period.
Yeah.
Can you call an animation a blockbuster, really? I mean,
I think it's going to bust the block.
Yeah, but fair
enough.
Yeah, I guess.
It's blockbusting.
It's blockbusting, and it's out today.
It is out today.
So excited.
Please go see it. You're going to see it again, aren't you?
I am dragging
your mum.
Honestly, I'll drag anybody who wants to see it.
Even off the street.
Maybe not, but yeah.
Do you fancy seeing inside it? Just get away. From me.
I would like to see like a more adult version of it. Like, I'm sure someone will do like
that was my first impression. I don't
think they will do a sequel. I think it was just like them saying if we did, this is what it would be.
But I mean, they've done Toy Story sequels, but I can't really. What were the sequel? I mean, Monsters University, is that a sequel? Or a
prequel? It was a prequel, but it wasn't as good.
I really wish. Just please do it like in the mind of a serial killer or like some mental patient. It would be so interesting.
So dark.
I would watch that in a heartbeat.
That would be really interesting. Idea for the future there.
There we go.
Go on.
We're taking that. We're probably not the first.
We'll get shut down by copyright law straight away.
We can write it.
Inside.
We can write it. No, I absolutely loved it. I'm so excited to watch it again.
Definitely recommend.
Definitely recommend.
Yep, highly.